saw some of the wood, you will see that now the pattern has changed and we don't have enough rainfall.
In this edition of Hotline, we take you on a tour across the country to hear how deforestation is negatively impacting farming activities and how communities are struggling to cope.
That is a great problem. Sometimes you go to the farm, you really like to farm, to work, because the sun has scorched everything.
This cassava in the field at Mafia Kukokbo in the Volta region was planted 14 months ago. It matured and was ready for harvest 5 months ago. But they can't harvest because the grounds are too hard. They would usually harvest after they see the first rain of the year, which softens the ground, but it's delayed, and the cassava is rotting in the field.
The grounds are hard, it's not raining. That is why we cannot uproot the cassava. But previously, the rain came as was expected.
Other farmers in the enclave are complaining too.
The change of the weather is affecting us because usually when the rain sets in early, we also get happy. But this time around, we could see that the rain will be late. We could see that when I've planted this maize, only twice that it rains this year in our area here. So it has affected. If not, you should have seen that the maize are doing better than what you are seeing here.
He is aware the destruction of the forest is responsible for the phenomenon.
I think that it's burning of the bush and some activities are causing that. Yeah. So, you know, in dry season, they usually burn bush around these areas for bush meat. Yeah. So that's also affecting the weather, I could see. And cutting of trees. They have been cutting the trees for charcoal.
In the absence of trees, carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere increases, which traps a lot of heat in the air. This interrupts the development of clouds to allow for rainfall. And when eventually the rain comes, it's heavy, causing floods. This results in climate change and creates an unpredictable rainfall pattern. Glenn Asumening is with the Nature and Development Foundation.
The destruction of forests contributes greenhouse gases, which is also a contributor, carbon dioxide mainly, and sometimes methane, which is also a contributor to the problem of climate change. Whatever you do, it's a cause and effect relationship. Yeah, so the more damage you cause, the more impact you feel from climate change.
The trees on the ground, I'm sure our primary and junior high science taught us photosynthesis. We gain oxygen from them after production of carbon dioxide. And these are the things that society world over has grown to realize, that we are shortening our own human life by not taking good care of these resources.
In several parts of the Volta region, the chopping down of trees and shrubs to burn charcoal in the deep forest is good business. Driving through Adaklukbachu, I see a lot of this happening. Akoto Christian is a farmer and charcoal dealer. His work is very harmful to the forest and vegetation. But as far as Christian and many others in this community are concerned, this work feeds a lot of the families in the area.
For instance, in 1890,
a bag of charcoal can be sold for about 90 cedis during the rainy season, so it's good business. It is sometimes more profitable than farming.
But Akoto also sees the impact of the charcoal business on agri productivity. The rains have delayed here for 2 months now, and so the fields are empty.
This year, the rain hasn't come, so the grounds are not good for farming.
But in some other communities, destruction of the forest is not simply an activity by locals to make a living through charcoal production. By law, you will require a permit from the Forestry Commission in order to fell trees. The Commission's job is to ensure such harvesting is done in a sustainable manner.
So it is hauled from the stump side after the TF has been captured and then brought here to the side. is what we call the side or the log yard. So once the tree is brought here, they cost cut them based on their own contract dimension. They reserve the right to do so. Then a timber truck can just move from town all the way to this portion. It comes, turns around, and then the logs are loaded onto it.
But illegal timber merchants are defying this requirement in the law that establishes the commission. The illegal loggers move into the forest late at night to cut down trees and move them out with impunity.
Or some even in the night, you will be asleep. And then in the night, you hear the machine sounding in the bush. Before you are aware, before you get there, they are gone. They have finished sawing the trees and then collected the wood and then away.
And it gets more serious. As the illegal timber merchants move the illegally cut trees through some of these forests, they end up destroying the farms of ordinary farmers. Daniel Odami, a cocoa farmer in the Jasikan district, lost 2,000 Ghana cedis after illegal loggers destroyed his 2-acre cocoa farm.
He came and fell some trees on my cocoa. But I paid them, but to no avail, because I don't know where they come from. It wasn't easy. I have to labor. I mean, but formerly, the cocoa have been helping me. But now, unless I get some plantain, cocoyam to sell before, yeah.
Look at this farm. Chainsaw operators, you see, they have destroyed some of the cocoa over here. Sometimes they will come, tell you that they need only 1 tree, 2 trees, but all of a sudden you see that 5, 6, and the farm destroyed. And even the amount that will be given to you is a meager amount. And before the owner gets to be aware, you know that, hey, things have got spoiled.
One man called Nigerian man has fell a mahogany tree. It affected the electricity pole, the high tension, and therefore the whole town is in darkness. So quickly we have to write down to ECG, electricity, to arrange for the light to restore. See, it was weekend. It took us 3 good days before they were able to restore the light. So in 3 days' time, we were in darkness. The whole community became angry.
The activities of these individuals involved in the illegal logging business take place in the deep forest late at night. For the fear of being attacked, the police and the Forestry Commission guards are not able to move in to stop the operations.
This is a community called Jinjin in the KJB district of the Volta region. Now, these are areas within the very thick bushes. Around here, there are a number of farms and very tall and huge trees all over the place. Unfortunately, the activities of illegal chainsaw operators are affecting the forest to a very large extent. What you see in the background are woods that were cut down illegally, and they've been split, awaiting cutting by the illegal chainsaw operators. Well, you can see the sawdust in the background there, another bit of it, showing that the operations have been quite rampant in this neighborhood. A number of trees have been cut down in this particular neighborhood. A number of farms have also been affected to a large extent. And well, these are items that forestry officials have found a way to confiscate, which is how come they are still sitting on the farms. All other things being equal, these woods would have found their way onto the market, and millions of cedis would have been gotten out of it by those who have been involved in these illegal trades. Well, the residents here are making a simple demand. They want the security agencies to crack the whip and ensure that any further destruction of the forest is stalled. We've been speaking to some of them around here.
Those cutting the trees have no legal documents that allows them to do that, but they are not afraid to come. We had to stop them ourselves before the Forestry Commission and the police personnel came.
And there are many of such cut down logs all over in the Jinjin forest in the KJB district. The illegal loggers cut down the trees and gradually pull them together to split into pieces and cut out of the forest when no one is watching. Assembly member for Dodi Pepesu South, Raphael Yebuamenta, says this is biting the community very hard. He accuses officials of the Forestry Commission of being complicit in how these illegal activities thrive.
Even when they arrest machines and vehicles and take them to the Forestry Commission, they release them. This is not fair. They then come back in the night to continue their activities. The Forestry Commission should help us.
The Forestry Commission, forestry law no mukita.
Gilbert Bentumkwe is a timber merchant.
I think some people are destroying our business in the sense that instead of them waiting for the logs to ripe, for it to get to its mature stage before they log them, they fell them, you find them just entering the bush and just cutting down anything they see just for money, which is wrong.
As a result of the distractions being caused to the environment, food has become expensive in a lot of these forest areas as they hardly get rains. Dode Papaso South Assembly member Raphael Yabua Mensah says the price of maize, for example, has shot up by about 50% over the last 1 year because of the poor rainfall pattern.
Yeah, it's costing them a lot because as at now, the farmers right now, as at now, we haven't seen any corn. No corn like the olden days or some time ago, but this time they will be reaping their corn. But not even some of them, they haven't put in even the seed of corn in the soil because of the rainfall pattern.
Coordinator of the Volta Regional Farmers Forum, Kofi Yadom, says the negative impact on food security is being felt across the entire region. He wants an expanded government crackdown on the operations of illegal loggers.
Of the moment, the climate change has affected the farmers as a whole. So the benefit they had is that when the trees have been cut down, a lot of shortfalls have become on their way. Food stuff has been reduced, productivity is low, income generation is also very, very low. It affects the livelihood of the people. That's why the reform pattern has become worse previously due to failure of the rampant trees by the illegal chainsaw illegally. So the reform pattern has changed drastically. Initially, when we start from May, rainfall has gone down. Hopefully by July that we foresee the rainfall becoming more. So the reform pattern has changed drastically. Productivity has become very, very low to the livelihood of the people. So the cost price of food has become very, very high. Government must pay that. Must be a lot of task forces. Security agencies must come in the form of soldiers.
Water bodies are also bearing the brunt of these illegal logging activities. In the Dode Papasu area, the Isoko Oya River, which stretches into the Oti and Volta rivers, is brownish after it was polluted by the operations of illegal loggers. They tie ropes around the cut wood and drag them through the river, polluting it. Traditional authorities are not happy. Kennedy Akroma is a local chief.
The chainsaw operators tie ropes to the tree stumps and move them through the river just to make money.
Up north, the young business which provides jobs for thousands in farming and trading is being hit badly by the poor weather patterns. On the farm field, some of the farmers get only rotten yam from their mounds because of the lack of rains.
It was planted, but because it was not off raining, it got rotten in the mouth and it has been replaced. Yes, this one moved and then planted new one there. But you can't do that in the whole farm.
If it grow to this level of it, if it were to be rain, there will be leaves, more leaves on it. Even when you hide on it, like somebody will not see you in it.
Crops planted this growing season have also not seen water and has begun wilting. Farmers sometimes plant after the first rain, but the seeds dry up and they have to uproot and replant.
Over the period of about 3 to 5 years, we've realized that the rains, we get 1 or 2 rains at the beginning of the year. Farmers ration, they prepare their yam mound and they plant. And then there is a drought spell for maybe another 2 months. And the yam that they are planted get rotten in the yam mounds. So at the end of the number of sprouts that they get on the field less than what they planted. So the change in rainfall pattern is actually affecting yam production.
This 37-year-old farmer is afraid he will lose his vehicles to debtors because he borrowed money to invest in this field.
So sometimes we can borrow money to farm, and it's happened that the rain doesn't rain, you run loss, because when all does not germinate, it will happen that when you are to harvest, you've raised thousands of yam mounds, and you are getting only 200 tubers of yams. So you cannot sell and pay your debt and still have something for the next year. I borrowed 5,000 Ghana cedis for the yam seeds and for the power pack. And this time, this time means rain once. At Christmas past, it rained once. And all the yams has not germinated as I'm here today. But some people, when they see you that you have a house, a property like a cow, walking on the roadside, they will come down. If you don't have that money, they will take this your thing.
And then
they will seize your car, or they will seize that house.
Diwati David Yajedo has a 10-acre farm. He grows maize, yam, granuts, and soya bean. He lost about 5,000 Ghana cedis last year because all the yam got rotten in the mounds as a result of the poor rainfall pattern.
I lost not less than 5,000 Ghana cedis. I did propagation where I need to get more yam sets, and in fact, almost all of them got rotten in the yam mounds.
Jonathan Nabia, also a farmer, lost 2,000 Ghana cedis to the poor weather last year.
For the yam business there, previous years it was going on well, but looking at this 2 years now, the way the yams business is going is not more something that's favoring the farmers. About 2 years now, for the weather, it's just something that people are facing a challenge.
Why?
We don't know how it came about. The rain doesn't come. It's now affecting now. The yam we've planted is now dying. For the money I've lost, about 2,000 plus.
Sulemana Isifu is with the Center for Climate Change and Food Security.
When you look at the trends of rainfall patterns in Ghana, you realize that 2015 were hit with a drought of a sort. It made us reflect on what happened in '87 when there was a severe drought and hunger all over the country. We've seen that indeed the concept of climate change is not a myth, or it's not something that is imaginary as some people think. The recent upsurge of fall armyworm is nothing more than one of the consequences of climate change.
He says the country stands the risk of severe cases of heat waves beyond the flood and drought Ghana is currently grappling with.
The study has proven that over the 40-year period, our temperature has risen by 1 degree Celsius. And there are some projections that by 2030, it will hit 3.6 degrees Celsius. What that means is that Ghana stands a risk of facing heat waves. And the north is a very, very volatile area. We know that they are at the two extremes of the weather conditions. When it is raining, flood occurs, and when it is drought, it is very severe. And the kind of extremities we've seen in the last 2 years, it can be nothing more than a consequence of climate change. And when that happens, we know that when flood occurs, plants cannot survive.
Cocoa is Ghana's most important cash crop, but its production is being severely hampered by climate change. 44-year-old cocoa farmer in Seshi, Frank Eduhne, explains heavy sunshine burns young pods annually, thereby reducing yield.
Since your production high and said, we are not able to do baby anama including in our annual force.
The sunshine turns the pods yellowish. Then you need to hire more labor to pluck them off the fields. So we need irrigation dams.
He says the situation cost him about 20 bags of cocoa last season.
Last year, Sanya Sakami change in the crowd, and
Last year, because of the climate change, I got only 33 bags from my field instead of 50, because the sun scorched the pods.
Frank says illegal tree loggers in the enclave have destroyed large portions of the forests and trees on their farms, exposing them to the impact of climate change.
When we started farming here, there were lots of trees on the field, but the timber merchants came in and cut them all on the authority of the landowner.
2017 National Best Cocoa Farmer, Yakubu Osman, who manages 245 acres of cocoa farms in the western region, has similar experience.
The cocoa pod can burn up completely. It happened to me 2 years ago.
The risk climate change poses to the cocoa sector is even greater. The projection is that rainfall in a lot of the cocoa growing areas will decline by 2% in the year 2020 and 11% in 2050 and result in a 14% and 28% decline in cocoa productivity, respectively. By 2080, moisture is predicted to be inadequate for profitable cocoa production in Ghana if the current trend continues.
Whether it's on the cocoa farm itself or it's in the neighboring communities, it provides the enabling microclimatic conditions for the cocoa to grow. Yes, so what it means is that it's simple. I mean, without the trees, there's no cocoa. And you can look at the rest of Ghana. I mean, it's simple. Where in the past we had good forests, we had good cocoa. Now, where the forests are gone, there's virtually no cocoa. So what we have to do is to bring the forest back so that we'll continue to enjoy our cocoa as a country.
The ideas on possible solutions are several. Farmers are asking government to speed up work on the One Village, One Dam project to help irrigate farms.
They told us that we will need bigger dams instead of what they were coming to give us. And that some people will come as surveyors to come and survey the place and give us that dam. Up to date, no one has come back again. So we don't really know what is going to happen.
When there is loss of forest, the land on which agricultural production happens fragments, soils get exposed, and there is loss of soil nutrients. Agriculture becomes less productive. Plant breeder Dr. Emmanuel Chamba also advocates for the adoption of improved drought-resistant seeds.
It means we've got to be developing varieties that will fit into this shrinking rainy season. So that if the variety used to mature in, let's say, 5-6 months, you should be thinking of the variety now that will be maybe 3-4 months maturity period. And also we should have to be thinking about drought-resistant varieties. Varieties that will be able to stand the drought period.
Even fishing activities are being hampered by climate change, as fisheries expert Dr. Angela Lamte points out.
They go to sea and they can't find fish because most of them have either been affected by climate change or changes in the environment, or might have migrated to nearby water bodies where conditions are more favorable. So this brings about food security issues. When the temperatures are not favorable, fishes will not spawn. Once they do not spawn, they will not produce young ones. Even if they manage to spawn, the fish eggs that may hatch into larvae may not even survive the harsh conditions in the environment. Even if they catch only the adults and leave the juveniles, because of climate change, the juveniles that are left in the water will not even survive, make it to the adult stage, and also spawn or breed.
Director of the Institute for Environmental and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana, Professor Kwesi Apieningado, says a concerted effort is needed to tackle the problem, else the entire nation is at risk.
As a country, we can help, reduce the impact of climate change by ensuring that we maintain our forests. We also need to embark on tree planting, and as much as possible, activities that will reduce carbon or CO2 in the system should be encouraged. That is what I think we as a country can do. But the impact of climate change is not going to reduce if we don't help to reduce the global, effect of climate change. We now see a lot of flooding. We see a lot of, increased coastal erosion. All these are connected in a way to climate change because sea level is rising. And if the sea level is rising, definitely the vulnerable areas are going to be flooded. But moving into the future, if we hit the 1.5 degree threshold of increasing in temperature, then the impact is going to be severe. So the frequency is going to increase. These things are not going to stop.
It's everybody's business to ensure that the current rate of deforestation stops. Maybe someday, when the reality of the destructive effects of climate change becomes inevitable, we will understand this old Native American saying that it is when the last tree has been cut down, when the last fish is caught, and the last river poisoned, only then will we realize that one cannot eat money. For Hotline, Joseph Opokugako reporting.
Global warming through more tree planting. It will reduce the scorching effect of the heat. Already we can feel 1.5 degree increase. Don't take it for granted. The next 10 years, 2030, you'll be around. Some of us could be dead and gone. Please, let's recultivate the habit. It'll reduce just a little. Me, Papa Joe. It's life. It's our life. It's our future. Okay?
There's a compelling reason to make a date with PM Express. We analyze the burning topics by asking tough questions. And we also provide a better understanding of the current issues affecting society. We make it simple in an hour because we engage the newsmakers and those who influence change. It's PM Express, comprehensive, practical, and balanced. 9 p.m., Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays on the Joy News channel.
Joy Business delivers financial and business information, news and insights, and connects decision makers to a dynamic network of ideas and people. You can interact with us on Facebook and Twitter at Joy Business. And for Instagram and LinkedIn, it's Joy Business GH. Connect with us on WhatsApp 0554 459409. Email joybusiness@myjoyonline.com. And for more news, log on to joybusinessnews.com. Joy Business, empowering, prospering together.
I am prepared to put my presence.
Tonight on Joy News Prime, civil society groups back calls for investigations into the activities of the DI group found to have been operating from the Christiansborg Castle.
We fully support any investigation or any call for investigation from whatever quarter it comes.
The CSOs, together with the National Chief Imam and Ghana Pentecostal Council, also want the political parties to demonstrate good faith towards disbanding party militias.
The historical evidence suggests that approaching the political dialogue bilaterally between the two parties is more likely to lead to failure.
Majority and minority in Parliament in standoff over 2 billion cedis sovereign guarantee request to recapitalize 5 indigenous banks. Attorney General tells Public Accounts Committee government's failure to honor the obligations on time is to blame for most cases of judgment debts.
Delay in payment. When they arise, now, we immediately bring it to the attention of the Ministry of Finance. I think that sometimes it is because of a thin pair.
In business, Aviation Minister maintains Ghana will go ahead with plans to partner Ethiopian Airlines for the establishment of its home-based carrier despite recent accidents involving the airline's Boeing B737 MAX 8.
I sent a team to Ethiopia to go and continue the discussions, this time on the shareholders agreement. We, as the country, still intend to continue with our partnership arrangements with them.
An opposition National Democratic Congress suspends all political activities and declares 3 days of mourning for their former national chairman who died on Tuesday.
The executive committee of the party has declared 3 days of mourning for him. And during these 3 days, all our flags will be flying at half-mast. All our party programs will be suspended across the 10 regions of Ghana.
I'm Israel Lai. Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomlemle here in Accra with digital address GA0992539. Stay tuned in. Now, very first story, Attorney General Gloria Kufu has admitted it may be difficult for government to avoid paying judgment debts. Ms. Akufu earlier on Tuesday told Parliament's Public Accounts Committee it is often difficult for the state to meet its financial commitment to service providers due to inadequate resources, a situation which leads to judgment debts when service providers take legal action against government. Payment of judgment debts was a big issue prior to the 2016 election, with the current government criticizing the Mahama-led administration for what they described as their failure to protect the public purse. One of the payments the AG was queried about by the committee on Tuesday had to do with the 67 million cedis judgment debt paid construction pioneers by the previous administration. There is more in the following report.
The 67 million cedis was paid construction pioneers in the year 2015 following an arbitration decision. The Auditor General's report notes the payment was effected without the approval of Cabinet. Attorney General Gloria Kufu, however, told the committee evidence of the approval was available.
But I have a decision note, a Cabinet decision note dated 29 July 2013, giving authorization for the payment, the equivalent of 18,455,303 pounds sterling 94 pence. So approval was given. Again, the money arose out of an international arbitration at the ICC between construction pioneers and the government of Ghana.
The committee, however, wanted some assurance on how the AG's department could minimize such payments. The AG, however, said this may be difficult.
Mr. Chair, in our kind of business, these are normal occurrences. The arbitration was about work. that construction pioneers had done for the country. The country was resisting payment because the amounts involved were being challenged. Part of these debts arise because we delay in payment. When they arise, now, we immediately bring it to the attention of the Ministry of Finance. I think that sometimes it is because of our thin purse.
Deputy Roads Minister Anthony Kabo was quizzed by the committee on some abandoned road projects that the Auditor General recommended be abrogated.
Those particular projects have been terminated, and we have with us the copies of the termination for those projects. But if you look at the 6 projects, 2 of those projects are currently, work is currently, those have been repackaged and work is going on in respect of those 2 projects.
The committee has meanwhile served notice it won't hesitate to drag before it civil servants who are responsible for infractions.
The collection of civil society groups in Ghana have backed calls for investigations into activities of the militia group linked to the governing New Patriotic Party, the DI Group. The group was found to have been operating from the Christiansborg Castle in the Joy News documentary, Militia in the Heart of the Nation. It's been 5 days since the documentary was broadcast, and there have been calls from Parliament, security experts, academia, and some Ghanaians for thorough investigations into the activities of the group. Speaking at a news conference on Tuesday, Chairman of the Civic Forum Initiative, Major General Nikal Coleman, retired, said investigating the matter will help in efforts to disband the party militias.
As civil society organizations concerned with the stability, peace, and security of the nation, it became necessary for us to meet and discuss the situation. Yes, civil society stands for impartiality, right? If there is something wrong with our society, it is our duty to speak out. If multimedia has brought to our attention, that is the nation's attention, that there are ills in the society, and that requires investigation, it must be investigated. We fully support any investigation or any call for investigation from whatever quarter it comes.
Meanwhile, the Civic Forum Initiative is warning that talks aimed at disbanding party militias will fail unless the process is expanded and facilitators brought in. Reading a joint statement on behalf of the civil society group's executive director of the ACT Foundation, Angela Dwamnabwaje, said the lack of trust between the 2 major parties makes the call for only the 2 parties to meet dead on arrival.
Past, mutual suspicion and mistrust between the 2 parties have led to the failure of political dialogues in Parliament during post-elections transitions and in the drafting and amendment of the Constitution. This has been the case in almost all national endeavors which have required the collaboration of the 2 parties for success. The historical evidence suggests that approaching the political dialogue bilaterally between the 2 parties is more likely to lead to failure. Yet, this political dialogue is so central to reforming and strengthening the security of the nation that it cannot and must not be allowed to fail. Consequently, a successful takeoff of the dialogue would require technical facilitation that could bring the 2 parties to bilateral talks as soon as possible. We believe that CSOs with competence, integrity, and proven track records could engage to support this process. We fully endorse the dialogue process as the way to deal with the mutual distrust, mistrust, and find an enduring and amicable solution to the recurring threat to Ghana's democracy, peace, and security.
Meanwhile, members of the coalition are urging the two parties to commit to the process to ensure the militia groups are disbanded in the interest of the country.
Call on the NPP and NDC to demonstrate good faith towards the dialogue by formally dissociating themselves from political vigilantes and recommitting themselves to fight against electoral violence, impunity, and injustice. We further call on the two parties to desist from publications of their correspondence with the President and among themselves in the media. This will go a long way in enhancing the environment needed to proceed with the dialogue.
Starting with a precondition, it means that you are taking an entrenched position, okay? And it would take a lot more time to climb down to a common ground. That is not what we want in this instance. We want to see the two parties demonstrating their love for country, you know, by saying that, okay, we recognize the problem, we think that it needs to be solved, and we are prepared to sit around the table and with an open mind, dispassionately, sincerely, see how we can resolve the issue.
Now, tonight, the campaign to disband party militias has intensified, and of course, the children who are the future of this country, one of the most affected groups when violence rocks, are speaking up. They're simply urging the politicians to preserve their future. The hashtag disband party militias now.
Ghana is the only country we have.
I am a child and I have a stake
in the peace of this country.
Mr. Politician,
Ghana deserves better.
Your children deserve better.
The political violence must stop.
The party militias must be disbanded.
We are the future.
We plead with you to preserve that future.
Disband party militias now.
Disband party militias now.
Disband party militias now.
Disband party militias now.
Indeed, disband party militias now. Moving on, the majority in Parliament has served notice they will use their numbers to push through government's request for 2 billion cedi sovereign guarantee for the Ghana Amalgamated Trust. The request, which is before Parliament's Finance Committee for approval, is expected to be considered on Wednesday. The guarantee will allow for GAT to borrow the amount from pension schemes to recapitalize 5 banks. The minority say they will resist the request.
Few issues that need to be clarified, and the committee is still working on that. I think the committee is demanding a number of documentation. First of all, the GAT is alien to Parliament. We don't know what is GAT. Okay? Ghana Consolidated Trust Limited. Amalgamated Trust Limited. Is it a company established by who? Parliament knows nothing about that. So why do you introduce a company that is alien to Parliament for Parliament to work for us to give a guarantee, a sovereign guarantee for that company to go and borrow? So that's the first thing that needs to be clarified, is that what is that company?
They brought it in.
No, they haven't. They haven't brought it. So those are some of the requirements of the minority. Before government can do anything of that nature, it must be approved by Parliament. Parliament, nothing has come to Parliament for approval.
So the GATT arrangement to be approved by
Parliament, yes, by Parliament. You know, when they went for the bond for the ESLA, the venture, the vehicle that they used to raise funds, special purpose vehicle they used to raise funds for the energy sector, it was based on the energy sector levy that we passed by Parliament. So we have source of funding
So if they use that as a legal basis to go and raise bond or loan, that is acceptable. Here, we have not established or given the authority to government to establish any company for Ghana. And why do you come to Parliament asking Parliament to give you approval for that company, which Parliament has not given any approval to go and establish, to give guarantee to that company to go and borrow money?
So for you, that is an illegal entity that you wouldn't
support. We want that thing should be done. We cannot, Parliament cannot give approval for a company that we don't know anything about to go and borrow.
But the NPP majority MP on the Finance Committee, Anthony Effa, insists the deal is a good one.
It can be illegal because we called over the weekend, we called for certificates of incorporation and commencement of business. And all these were provided to the committee over the weekend. So why is the illegality? If the company GAT is not registered, then we say that how can we lend to a company that, an institution that is not registered?
Shouldn't the very idea of its establishment have come to Parliament for approval?
I don't know about the law on that, but as long as it's now before the House, we have the opportunity to ask all the relevant questions to ensure that it works. Doesn't mean if one condition is not satisfied at this moment in time, then everything should be thrown away. I think we should give
possibly
opportunity.
admit that condition?
I'm not sure of what condition. I do not know. Like I'm saying, I cannot, at the spur of the moment, indicate that. But the minimum requirement is for GAT to register as a legal entity, and we have that demonstrated to us over the weekend. The certificate of incorporation, the certificate to commence business, they were all shown to us, and they are available for anybody to check.
And so for you are satisfied, and they deserve and should be given
Yes,
less.
from the beginning, I indicated that this is one solution, but it may not be foolproof. So it is for us as Ghanaians, and especially members of Parliament, to suggest what else will make GAT work for these banks that otherwise will go down, for, not because of improper management, but because they haven't made the minimum capital.
The national leadership of the University Teachers Association of Ghana is demanding the reinstatement of dismissed lecturers at the University of Education, Winneba. The demand by UTAG follows the dismissal of lecturers from the university and about 30 teaching and unteaching staff. The UTAG executives say the dismissal of the lecturers is unfair and does not augur well for smooth academic activities. Students of the university have been protesting the dismissal of the lecturers. Richard Kojianako has been on that campus and brings us what's happening there.
What exactly do you want done? So obviously, they are all talking and I cannot hear them. But all that they are saying is that they want their lecturers back. And they want the removal of the Vice Chancellor. They suspect that there are some unfair treatment on campus.
This students of the Hypers department, yesterday we were there and we heard that the for immediate past HOD, who is currently one of the best lecturers. As you can see, they couldn't even give me the chance to grant you this thing, because he's the lecturer that we say to be the best lecturer in the department. He is the one who has the theology, is the one who teaches the soccer, first aid, and a lot of courses that we don't see any lecturer in this our department taking us through.
We had a call from our doctor, Dr. Jinapo, that he is also sad that he was at the lecture hall teaching the level 400 face-to-face. He had a face-to-face with them, and he had a text message that he is sad. So we want him back. He didn't do anything. So we want him back. He is the only lecturer in our department. We students want him back because he was there in our HOD. When this man came on power, they stepped him down and brought another HOD. So we don't want our HOD. They should change our HOD and bring back our Jinapo. There's an intimidation affecting us. A lot of intimidation affecting us.
The time that they have sacked the man is not good. Not the time, because if you check, we are now on 6th week of the whole semester. That means that we have some few days for semester previous. You see, so this one is going to affect the whole university, not only IFS alone. So we are fighting. We are fighting to all the authorities that they should bring the man back. We need him. If not, something else will happen. There are issues of ultimate importance in this university. Sacking a lecturer is not important. Never. There are issues that are very important in this university. This whole university, there's only a quarter of us that have been accommodated on campus. There is no SH president. There are issues that are impending. The security on campus is very poor. I'm telling you. This semester, this academic year, there is no SH president. There is no executive because the elections were boycotted by court. Cut all the way. See, we don't know what is happening. The thing is, communication to the students are very poor. We don't know what is happening in this university. So our worry now is, why then are you facing the lecturers when students are rather suffering? The students here are suffering. We are suffering. My brother, you can't sack a lecturer in the middle of a semester. A lecturer lecturing people about 6 courses. You sack them in the middle of a semester. What do you want the students to do?
Now, the UTAG executives are not really happy with the dismissal of the lecturers as well. UTAG President Eric Opoku says they are going to do everything they can to bring back these lecturers because there are some precedents, including a court case that was just determined by the Cape Coast High Court.
Set aside the judgment, the earlier judgment by Winneba High Court, asking these executive members to step aside. Once they did that, we as National UTAG waited patiently and got a copy of the judgment on the 25th of February 2019. So upon receipt of the legitimate document, we wrote formally to this university, to the management of the university, requesting that they give due recognition to these elected executives as a result of the outcome of the appeal case. We also wrote to the executive, Dr. Keche Duku, that now that the court had duly cleared him, he can hold himself as the duly elected president of UEW, and that the National Executive Committee of UTAG duly recognized him as such. Just when we wrote that letter, then a day afterwards, an emergency meeting was held in this university. And the outcome of that meeting, Vice Chancellor signing a letter summarily dismissing him on a list of allegations that are unfounded. Look, we know what is going on. There is an attempt clearly to make sure that Dr. Keche Duku, one, doesn't hold himself as UTAG executive because they know what he can do with his office and doesn't stay in this university as a lecturer. We as a national body doesn't recognize that decision that has been taken by the leadership of this university. And therefore, UTAG, together with other stakeholders, are going to do whatever is necessary to make sure that justice prevails in this university.
We've also been having an interaction with one of the dismissed lecturers, and he's been bemoaning the treatment that they are going through under the hands of this very Vice Chancellor.
There are several reasons for our dismissal. Each one is dependent on whatever the person did. In my case, they said I have gone to court to ask the court to review a decision by counsel that I believe it was not right. So that's the reason why I was dismissed. I have a colleague who was a former alumni president representing alumni on council. He went to council, they took a decision, or they were in the process of taking a decision which was not comfortable to him. So he said he wants to excuse himself because he doesn't want to be part of that decision making. And they consider that as also a sign of disrespect. And his appointment has been terminated. I have the professor from Ejumako campus, Professor Avia, who was the principal of Ejumako campus. His charge is that he's not been cooperating with the other management members because when they are doing something wrong and he doesn't want to side with them, that is his charge. Now the students believe that enough is enough. Within a year, almost 30 staff, teaching and non-teaching, have been sacked or demoted or suspended. They believe they are suffering because at the end of the day, having paid your school fees, if you are not receiving tuition, then what's the essence of hovering around on campus? So today, they have gone on peaceful demonstration to register their displeasure about this unwarranted dismissal of staff from the university. And their demand, simple, is that all dismissed individuals must be called back. None, so far, those that have seen their letters, none can be justifiably defended that the person did something wrong.
We're taking a break here on Joy News Prime, but still ahead in the bulletin. In business, the aviation minister maintains Ghana will go ahead with plans to partner Ethiopian Airlines for the establishment of a home-based carrier, despite recent accidents involving the airline's Boeing B3737 MAX 8.
February, I sent a team to Ethiopia to go and continue the discussions, this time on the shareholders agreement. We, as a country, still intend to continue with our partnership arrangements with them.
And later on in the bulletin, opposition National Democratic Congress suspends all political activities and declares 3 days of mourning for their former national chairman who died on Tuesday.
The National Executive Committee of the party has declared 3 days of mourning for him. And during these 3 days, all our flags will be flying at half-mast. All our party programs will be suspended across the 10 regions of Ghana.
Stay tuned, the news continues in a moment.
Looking for a brilliant way to eliminate the hassle of acquiring a property? Wade has all the solutions with its Le Jardin Symphonique. Our 3, 4, 5-bedroom villas are fully furnished with tarred roads, 24-hour security arrangements, children's playground, and recreational center. With over 25 years of experience in the real estate industry, Le Jardin Symphonique has all the best architectural designs and expert hands to produce you a luxury and most quality